It is the biggest game at the Emirates for 16 years.
First Champions League semi-final for Arsenal in 16 years. Just how big is this opportunity to do something really special?
Hello. It's going to be a big game. We are really confident. We know the quality that we have. Of course, it's PSG. It's an amazing team. They've got a really good side with great players, but we're really confident. We trust ourselves, and we're ready for it.
And in terms of confidence.
People, we're back. It's 12th man. It's Gooner to Gooner.
Well, our first semi-final in 16 odd years, the most important game a lot of these players have played to date, did not go the way we wanted. PSG have the advantage heading to Paris. Arsenal 0, PSG 1, people. Now, I'm sure we've screamed, we've shouted, we've shook it all about. Why don't we delve into why the result wasn't the way we wanted? Or at least attempt to. I know Mikel Arteta labelled Ousmane Dembele's 4th-minute strike, which is his 25th goal of 2025, an individual moment. And he's right in a sense, but you need to earn your luck. And I think the way they pressed us, the way they evaded our press, the way they set up collectively, tactically, the individual interchanging movements, even leading to the goal was absolutely superb. For Arsenal and a team that is praised for its defensive structure and compactness, it was unacceptable. And we have to start with that, because that is ultimately what made the difference on the night, and obviously has the advantage to PSG going into the second leg in France. In an ideal world, as you know, off the ball, we loosely have a 4-4-2 formation, and we say, come and break us down. Now, give or take, you would imagine Neves being at the base, Vitaya and Fabian Ruiz either side, and you lot are more than happy to have it with Donnarumma, to have it with your defenders, to have it with your midfielders, and we'll leave you alone. And once you enter into certain regions, that's when the press begins, knowing that we've got the defensive stability behind us. Of course, we know Timber's more likely to make it a back three on the ball. Obviously, Marino would go inside. You'd probably have Marino making that run. You'd obviously have Martinelli and Bukayo Saka further forward, and you know where Odegaard would be and look to, combined on the right-hand side, and so on and so forth. That's actually not what we're here to see. I've moved everything around. That's just to paint a rough picture. I'm not going to lie to you. From a Paris Saint-Germain perspective, watching the game again, it was a joy to watch their tactical setup. Now, as I said, in an ideal world, we'd love to have a back four, 2 banks of 4. Football isn't like that. In terms of what led to the goal, if you remember, Mendes had the ball. Vitaya went searching for it. It skipped him out. Obviously, it went to Dembele. Again, just focusing on what happened in the build-up, people. And it was fantastic, if I'm honest with you. You would imagine someone like Ruben Neves would probably be the deepest. He's actually one of the first further forward. And they were creating overloads and different options and almost decoys on the left and the right-hand side. Now, we got in trouble, really. Further forward, the ball ended up eventually on here. But I want to hone in on a few things. If you remember, when Mendes had the ball, he's obviously tried to find Vitaya. Marino's tried to get tight. It's gone into Dembele, who played a key role in the goal, people. But parking that off for a second, if you just pretend the ball is in play, it's actually our right and the left-hand side where we're in trouble. Now, I do think Saka, once they've beaten the press of Odegaard, Trossard and Bukayo, which wasn't the best on the day, and actually Marino, that is now where Saka's got to tuck in. At this moment in time, there isn't anything. What people are forgetting is Declan Rice and Fabian Ruiz. If I fast forward things, Fabian Ruiz has made a blistering run. We're unsure what to exactly do. Naturally, Timber is going to get back into position around here, people, if you can remember correctly. And if we fast forward play a bit, again, naturally, Fabian Ruiz has made a central run. Timber's followed his man. Declan Rice isn't quite sure what to do. And if you remember, by the time it goes out to Kvaratskhelia, again, not to scale people and to make it slightly easier, Rice and Timber are unsure whether to stick or twist. Obviously, Kvaratskhelia done what he's paid to do, and it wasn't my man. Again, football isn't, there's several moving parts. Dembele has run further forward. The ball has been found from Kvaratskhelia into Dembele. They've taken the lead. If you want to watch a game, you need to watch what's going on off the ball. With what I've just showed you, folks, hopefully now you can see visually with these images in front of you at this moment in time what I'm speaking about. PSG are one of the best teams, obviously, with the quality of players with a football, but off the ball with a fantastic coach like Luis Enrique. These are what is going to define the game. And it might not look like the most glamorous of goals, but when you look at it and watch the game again from how they've built from their half into ours, it's a fantastic one from Paris Saint-Germain. And it's unacceptable for a team that is proclaimed to be one of the best defensive side. That was actually one of PSG's 6th goals in the Champions League via tapping people. And where you look at on screen with what João Neves is saying about taking up passing angles and things like that, it gives food for thought, people. It really does. And again, football is decided at both ends. It's decided off the ball. There's a lot of food for thought. Smash the like button, by the way. No doubt, this is another game in which many of us Arsenal fans are questioning the in-game management and tactics of Mikel Arteta when whatever we planned pre-game did not go to plan. To be fair to the guy, and stick around, I've got something to say on that, but to be fair to our manager Mikel Arteta, once we kind of shifted away from that 4-4-2 press into a more 4-2-3-1, we did begin to shift a bit of momentum, primarily down Paris Saint-Germain's right and our left, as we look to create an equalizer or get something into the game. You know, Hakimi is very good defensively and very good going forward, but he does leave a lot of space. And with that shift, you then got to see, as you're probably seeing on screen, the likes of Lewis Skelly, Martinelli, to a degree, indirectly, Rice getting a bit of space to drive in, which Martinelli had an opportunity he should have scored. Now, Luis Enrique's side was very proactive on all aspects of that game, especially with making subs. It's another one where, to me, as an armchair expert, I'm not sure why Mikel Arteta, 10 minutes from time, decides to then make changes too little too late. Timbers played a lot of football. Obviously, Benjamin White came on, and I'm not quite sure what Wanyeri is expected to do with hardly any minutes. Yes, he could have had an assist. Mikel Arteta has a massive problem with Martin Odegaard. I want to stand by the captain. I don't want to scapegoat him. He isn't alone. He doesn't look fully fit. If you go to the games and you watch him off the ball, clearly ineffective as well. Those are the luxuries I'll excuse him. But at the end of the day, you've been deemed fit to play. It's commendable, but at the end of the day, it could be seen as negligence, because this is a man that's shot of confidence, physical conditioning is on the floor, mentality is being questioned, and for a 26-year-old in a semi-final captain in our football club, it's unacceptable. At the end of the day, you've been past fit, and this is just one of the many poor games. Now, he's not alone, but again, you need a lot more from your captain. He's not playing any key passes. He's not getting on the ball and dictating the tempo. The pressing is being done half-heartedly. Does he need to be taken out of the firing line? Let me know your thoughts. I'm not naive. He's definitely going to start against PSG, but in the first 30 minutes, 45, if it goes left, he probably does need to be hooked. Now, owing to a couple of absentees, Merino, who's been shining up front for our football club, and Declan Rice, who's been in a sweet spot of form in the 8th position, had to move to the 6th. Unfortunately, because we didn't do what we needed to do either in January or last summer in terms of depth to be able to cope in situations like this, you have one issue in the side and then there's several moving parts. Clearly, we miss Thomas Partey. The control he gives us, the ability to keep Rice and Merino in their natural positions. It's one thing talking about Thomas Partey. It's another one talking about Jorginho, who isn't quite Thomas Partey, but again would allow Rice to stay in the 6, Merino to stay up front, and us to obviously be able to keep playing as we've been playing. We've got a tiny squad. One absence is vital. And it's that age-old thing of what Mikel Arteta has found himself having to do, in that one absentee sees us indirectly having to create more moving parts, which indirectly, you know, harms how we play and our fluidity and our team ethos and just putting our best foot forward. Now, again, you would see the theme of this video where we've been speaking about, you know, brain farts defensively, where we've been speaking about in-game tactics. Again, I think when you isolate Arsenal and Paris Saint-Germain and what the game was, and it being the semi-finals, it's been on brand with what we've become accustomed to see at the Emirates. With everything I've been speaking about up until this point, don't forget to leave a comment and let me know yours. But also, we've got two players in Leandro Trossard and Gabby Martinelli, who I like them. I think they're squad players, but they're not difference makers. They're not clinical in front of goal. Yes, their form has been getting in better form, and give big up Donnarumma, but at the end of the day, these are players that you can't bet your house on will score. And at the end of the day, goals change games. There is an element of, there is a reality where we probably could have and should have on another day conceded a lot more, but there's also a reality where we could have been as abysmal as quote unquote you might have us down as, but we get a goal and we're looking very differently going into the game in Paris. Looking at some of the fallout talking points after the first leg game, people in the newspapers and social media and stuff, there's some interesting perspectives. You look at Wayne Rooney, who wants us to win the champs. He poked fun or took a dig at the atmosphere at the Emirates. Not that we've ever been the most noisiest of fans. What a horrible tifo that is. That is not the reason we lost, but it looks like a bedsheet. And to be fair with you people, we've never been the noisiest of atmosphere. And ultimately, you do the business on the pitch. Nobody cares about off it. It's crazy. Big fan of listening to King Thierry Henry speak, and he said you never know what could happen, but it does look bleak. The margins were small, and it is only half time in the tie, as Mikel Arteta said, but we have to do something special, as he said before, during, and actually after the game, people. Paul Merson said we were scared, and I can't say we was, but I can't say we wasn't. Once again, if we want to be in the final, we need to pull off the impossible, people. It's as simple as that. Luis Enrique, interestingly, said they either wanted a 2-goal lead or a draw, which that tells you their mentality was, let's get back to Paris in the second leg with something to play for. Now, there was a lot of lip service. Arteta said, bring your boots. His team players probably forgot their own. Martin Odegaard has said we can step up in big matches. Some of our players can. You currently can't, captain. Prove us wrong. Luis Enrique, interestingly, also said that he expects PSG to suffer. And I think naturally that is football. They're going to suffer as we throw the kitchen sink. They're going to give us chances, but are we going to take them? And I think Declan Rice was done dirty. If we don't have the ball, we die. And we can't say we did that in the first leg. For me, in the second leg, regardless of how it goes, people, we need to play with a lot more intensity and physicality and be in a completely different headspace psychologically. You look at Aston Villa, they did benefit on occasion by being very direct against Paris Saint-Germain. Maybe that's food for thought. We need to be a lot more compact defensively. We need to learn how to breach their press and actually press their backline and their players in a different kind of situation. That's probably with Mikel Arteta tactically, but a lot more effectively. It'll be interesting to see how we approach the game because the ball is currently, ironically, in PSG's court. We can't go gun-ho, nor can we panic. We're going to have to box wisely. Of course, we're not Barcelona, but them being 2 goals down in the first leg gave them food for thought. Gives us, food for thought. It'd be an interesting spectacle. All is on for the trip to France.